Chapter 31 Shameless. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qin Yu checked the time. Almost 3 in the afternoon. Let's head back to Jingyun District, Lingtang New Village, he said. He'd just dropped 8 million, and the system's check-in task was complete. He'd check in again when it refreshed tomorrow. First, he wanted to hit up the rental house and hang out with Lu Kersin and her roommates that evening. He'd only been gone a day, but he kind of missed the crummy little place. He'd lived there long enough, it held some memories. Okay, Tang Qin replied. She fired up the GPS, and they followed the directions. About an hour later, the Rolls-Royce pulled up in front of the apartment complex in Lingtang New Village. After Tang Qin drove off, Qin Yu let himself into the building. He took the stairs up to room 301 on the 3rd floor. He reached for his key, but the door swung open on its own. Standing there was none other than his ex, Su Li. "Honey, I've been waiting for you," she said with a saccharine smile. "Come on in." She was acting like the perfect little housewife greeting her man. "What are you doing here?" Qin Yu asked, surprised. "I went to the hotel looking for you today, but they said you weren't there. I called your old job and they told me you don't work there anymore. I figured you might be back at your old place, so I came over," Su Li explained, still smiling. "Oh. Why were you looking for me?" "We broke up, remember?" Qin Yu said flatly. He then remembered that Su Li still had his key. Even when they were together, she barely ever came over. He'd even asked her to move in, but she'd flat out refused. Now that they were history, she shows up uninvited. He didn't have to be a genius to figure out what she was after. Did she want to get back together? Fat chance. "Honey, I've had a change of heart. You're still the best to me. You still love me, right? Let's give it another shot." "I don't need anything, I just want to be by your side," she pleaded. Su Li looked as pathetic as possible. She batted her eyelashes and added, "Remember when you asked me to move in?" "I'm saying yes, okay." Qin Yu rolled his eyes. This performance wasn't winning him over, it was just making him feel disgusted and contemptuous. He couldn't believe he'd ever fallen for this shallow woman, let alone been so hung up on her. Without a word, he pushed past her into the apartment. Standing around in the hallway was just asking for trouble. People would start talking, but once inside, he felt even more pissed off. A guy in his early 20s, barely 5'3", was sprawled on the sofa playing video games, his stinky feet propped up on the coffee table. Annoying, it was Su Li's little brother, Su Kun. He reluctantly put down his phone and sat up when Qin Yu walked in. "Bro, you're back. I've been waiting for you," he said. "Bro." If Qin Yu remembered correctly, this was the first time the kid had ever called him bro. Back in the day, he'd bent over backward to impress his future brother-in-law, dropping cash on game credits, taking him out to eat, even springing for a brand new phone worth a few $100. Qin Yu was still rocking the same phone he bought years ago, but Su Kun had never given him the time of day, constantly complaining that his sister couldn't land a richer boyfriend. After following his sister to this city, he has always lived a life of idleness and freedom. "I think you've got the wrong guy. I'm not your brother-in-law. Your sister and I broke up a long time ago," Qin Yu said coolly. "Nah, my sister just promised to get back together with you, so that makes you my brother-in-law, right?" Su Kun grinned. "Now that we all know you're loaded, dropping a fortune to stay in a hotel and buying a sweet ride worth a ton of cash, you gotta let me borrow your new car, man. I wanna show it off to my buddies. I don't need much more money, maybe 2 or 3 million. I'll get my sister to be with you. What do you think?" "Knock it off," Su Li snapped as she came in. Seeing the darkening expression on Qin Yu's face, she knew Su Kun had crossed a line. "Sis, I didn't say anything wrong. My brother-in-law's rich now, so it's no big deal if I ask for a measly amount." "What's his is mine," Su Kun whined. "Su Li, I don't want to argue. Just pack your bags and leave. You guys are through. There's no getting back together," Qin Yu said, his face like stone. "Humph, Qin Yu, you're not dumping my sister that easy. If you hadn't been faking being broke, my sister would have never broken up with you. You always said you loved her, but you wouldn't even buy her anything nice. And you whined every time I asked you to buy me a few bucks in game currency. Yeah, real romantic. I'm telling you, you can marry my sister, or you can pay a breakup fee of tens of millions. Your choice. Su Kun finally lost it. Qin Yu's attitude wasn't what he was used to, so he jumped to his feet and started mouthing off. Ha! Qin Yu laughed in his face, totally done with this nonsense. A breakup fee of tens of millions? Why not ask for hundreds of millions? Last time I checked, you, Su Li, were the one who dumped me. You should be paying me. I've spent a ton of money on you two over the past year, he snapped. You were faking being poor to mess with my sister. If you weren't pretending to be poor, we wouldn't have broken up, Su Kun shot back. Faking being poor. Qin Yu couldn't believe the nerve of these two, still trying to weasel their way back into his life. Even if he didn't have the system and was as broke as before, there was no way in hell he'd get back together with them, and there was definitely no way he was handing over any money, but these two were about as hard to shake off as a bad rash. He should have stayed away. Out of sight, out of mind. Then an idea hit him. Who says I'm faking being poor? Su Li, do you really think I'm rich now? Ha! That's a joke. What? Su Li asked, confused. I was going to pretend to be rich to win you back, but I've changed my mind. I don't care whether you're a gold digger or not. Qin Yu was playing his last card. Let me spell it out for you. I don't have tens of millions, hell, I don't even have a few $100. A stunned silence filled the room. Wait, you're telling me you're still the same broke bum you always were? You did all this to impress my sister? Su Kun said, his eyes widening. Yep, Qin Yu said flatly. Ha! Su Li didn't look disappointed. Instead, she let out a tinkling laugh. Qin Yu, I know you're saying all this so I'll leave you alone. Don't worry, I've already told you that I don't care about your money. It's you that I like. Besides, why do you say you don't have any money? Bai Xiaoyi told me you bought $1 million car. And I saw you staying in a fancy hotel suite. So, you can stop trying to lie to me. Seeing his bluff being called, Qin Yu didn't flinch. He just sat down on a stool, looking unconcerned. Okay, fine. I did buy that car at the dealership. But here's the thing, I quit my job and got a new one. I'm a chauffeur at Jiangyun Hotel. The hotel just bought the fanciest car in the auto shop, and I drove it back. You saw it, too. I drove you there and bumped into you and your current boyfriend. Chapter 32. She is my cousin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Just admit it. I saw you staying in the presidential suite myself, and the front desk confirmed it. There's no way it was fake. You're not gonna tell me you work there and get to crash in the presidential suite for free, right? Nice perks. Su Li scoffed, Qin Yu chuckled. Come on, that's too easy. I told you, I work at that 7-star hotel, and the front desk knows me. Last night, I went in and asked them to play along. Told them if anyone asked, just say I'm a guest staying there, even booked the presidential suite for a month. Turns out, the front desk told me you came asking about me and even called. Didn't think you'd actually fall for such a simple trick. You've known me long enough, you know I'm broke. If I had money, you think I'd be living here this whole time? Qin Yu thought to himself, man, I'm a better actor than anyone on TV. Su Li stared, speechless for a moment, then another thought hit her, she smirked. Okay, Qin Yu, explain why the housekeeping manager at Jiangyun Hotel greeted you so respectfully at the entrance. Qin Yu's grin froze. Ugh, this is a tough one to BS my way out of. Keeping a confident smile plastered on his face, with Su Li staring him down, Qin Yu scrambled for an answer. Finally, he blurted out the lamest excuse he could think of. Su Li, there's something you don't know. Manager Han is actually my cousin. She's the one who got me the hotel job. Didn't want to make a big deal about it. If you don't believe me, go ask her yourself. Suli looked dubious. She's your cousin. Why didn't you ever mention you had a cousin who was a hotel manager? And the way she was acting, it was like she was greeting a guest, not family. Qin Yu played it cool. Respectful. You must have had too much to drink last night. How could you think she was being respectful to me? You're not talking about those two welcoming ladies, are you? They thought I was a guest, so that's how they treat all guests. He added seriously, think about it, Suli. Is that how it went down? Well. Seeing Qin Yu's earnest expression, Suli couldn't tell if he was lying. In all the time she'd known him, even though he wasn't exactly rolling in dough, he'd never lied to her, and she wasn't even positive of what she saw last night, so maybe Qin Yu was telling the truth. She started to rethink everything. She knew Qin Yu came from a humble background, same as her. They were even junior high classmates, and they'd been together for almost 2 years. She knew everything about him, or at least she thought she did, him being secretly rich. No way, unless he won the lottery, but she hadn't heard of anyone hitting it big lately. And a lottery winner would have bought something a hell of a lot more attention-grabbing than a luxury car. At that moment, Suli was about 80% convinced, but if he was lying, he'd definitely be driving that fancy car back here. No employee gets to just take a car like that home on a whim. Bro, go downstairs and see if there's a new black SUV. Suli didn't bother being subtle, she just told Su Kun to go check. Okay, 1 second. Su Kun, though confused, did as he was told and hurried off. Checking to see if I drove back, Qin Yu laughed. That's a waste of time. I took the subway. It was packed. He smiled to himself, Suli was actually buying it. Phew, that was a close one. He knew his story still had holes. Like how all the paperwork for the car was in his name, and by Xiaoyi had seen it. A serious investigation would turn up something for sure, especially with Han Xian being his cousin. That was a weak save, but he gambled on Su Li's gullibility and won. Su Li stood quietly, considering everything. When she noticed Qin Yu was still wearing the same clothes, she was even more convinced, if he really didn't drive back, there's no way she hadn't been lied to. But I got way too worked up over nothing, she thought. If he really was rich, there's no way I wouldn't have noticed it after all this time. Sis, I checked. No new car down there. Su Kun rushed back, a little out of breath. Okay. Qin Yu, you think pulling this will make me suddenly look at you different? Dream on. I could never like you. Su Li's face cycled through red and white before she blew up. I thought you were rich and had a future, but I guess I was being deceived the entire time. Thank goodness I broke up with you. Damn it, you're still just a broke loser, quit trying to flex on my sister. Did you think my sister would suddenly fall in love with you? Keep dreaming. Su Kun yelled. Are you two done yet? Time to leave. You're not welcome here. Qin Yu ignored their shouting and told them to hit the road. Qin Yu, I haven't forgotten you cheated on my sister. You dare talk to me like that? You better hope I don't end up beating you up for it. Su Kun threatened. Oh yeah? Let's see who's tougher. Qin Yu narrowed his eyes, showing no fear. He wasn't really scared of him at all either, especially not anymore. Now that he was worth billions, he would just throw money at it if he got in trouble. And lose? Please. He was never intimidated by Su Kun. The only reason he put up with him was to get in with Su Li. Now that he knew the second son of the Zhihang family, he could handle a lowlife like this. Seeing Qin Yu's newfound confidence, Su Kun faltered, standing there unsure of himself. Su Kun, fully exposed, lost all intimidation. Bro, let's go. Su Li cut through the awkwardness, she turned and walked out, not wanting to stay any longer. You wait, I'll get even with you later. Su Kun threatened before turning to leave. Hold up. Qin Yu called out to Su Li, who was almost out the door, Su Li stopped in the doorway. What? Looks like you forgot something, my rental key. Keep it. Su Li threw the key on the ground, turned, and walked away. Chapter 33 Yafang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Watching them leave, Qin Yu felt a wave of relief. Finally, those two are gone. He picked up his keys, locked the door, tidied up the room, and collapsed. Wow, that took some serious brainpower. He glanced at the clock, 4:30 p.m. A quick shower, a change of clothes, and he was out cold on the bed. Meanwhile, downstairs, Su Li was already dialing a number. Sis, who are you calling? Su Kun asked. Zip it for a sec. Of course, it was Feng Yuan. She couldn't rely on Qin Yu anymore, now she had to reel in her rich boyfriend. Su Li figured Feng Yuan's disappearing act last night had something to do with Qin Yu's charade. Now that she knew it was all fake, she was eager to clear the air. Not only would it put his mind at ease, but she might even score some points. It rang twice before he reluctantly answered. Su Li, what's up? Hey, let's grab dinner tonight. I need to ask you something. Oh. What's that? It's about my ex. You saw him last night. He totally faked his car and hotel. It was all a show. No way. You mean he was putting on an act? Feng Yuan sounded perked up. Totally. He's a driver at Jiangyun Hotel. The car he was driving is the hotel's. And he got the front desk to play along with the hotel stay. The housekeeping manager is his cousin. Wow, I never would have guessed he was such a faker. Feng Yuan said, sounding a little bitter. Honey, you promised a fancy dinner and a suite in a 7-star hotel. Why did you bail last night? Oh, I am so sorry. It was a last-minute emergency. I wouldn't have left otherwise. Feng Yuan apologized profusely. Alright, I've got stuff to do. 7 o'clock at the usual place. I'll treat you to Yipentang to make it up to you. Sound good? Sounds great. Su Li glanced at Su Kun and added, my brother's with me. Can he come along? Your brother? Of course. He's practically my brother too. Bring him. Thanks, Feng. Don't mention it. See you tonight. Bye. Su Li hung up, and Su Kun immediately pounced. Who was that? Your new boyfriend, Su Li nodded. Yeah, his dad's the boss at my company. Your company? Seriously? So, your boyfriend's the son of the guy who owns Ruanjia supermarket. Su Kun's eyes lit up. Nice. More than a dozen stores. That's way better than your broke ex. Is he taking me to dinner tonight? Yep. Su Kun rubbed his hands together, excited. I can help you size him up. Just because he's loaded doesn't mean he's sincere. A lot of these rich guys just want to play the field. You're gorgeous, sis. You deserve someone rich and genuine. How am I supposed to tell if he's genuine? Su Li asked, but she sounded curious. Easy. You've been wanting to buy a house, right? Just casually bring it up and see if he offers. If he does, he's for real. Su Li rolled her eyes. Don't be ridiculous. We've barely started dating. Buying a house is a huge deal. He'd never agree. She acted dismissive, but the idea had clearly planted a seed. Seeing her reaction, Su Kun grinned. Hey, you never know until you try. Don't worry, I'll handle it. Asterisk jingle bell, star. Qin Yu groggily fumbled for his phone. Hello. He mumbled, yawning. Qin Yu, where are you? Dinner's ready. It's on me tonight. It's after 7. Oh. Okay, I'll be right there. Hearing Lu Kerson's voice, he remembered. His stomach rumbled in agreement. Hurry up. She hung up, Qin Yu checked the time. Past 7. He'd slept way longer than he planned. He ran a hand through his hair, went downstairs, and knocked on Lu Kerson's door. Her place had 3 bedrooms and a living room, much bigger than his single room. Besides Lu Kerson, her roommates Gui Yafang, real estate, and Li Qiuping, hotel service, were there, too. Li Qiuping usually worked nights, so he didn't see her often. The food was already on the table, along with a few beers. He sat down and grabbed some disposable plates. After devouring a few bites, he couldn't help but compliment her cooking. "Seeing how hungry you are, you should have helped earlier." Li Qiuping scolded him. "I was sleeping. Didn't notice the time," Qin Yu said, still eating. "Li Qiuping, give it a rest." Gui Yafang shot Li Qiuping a look and raised her cup. "Let's toast Lu Kerson. Congrats on the promotion to department manager." "Yeah, congrats Lu Kerson. May your career keep climbing." Qin Yu joined in, raising his glass. As they put their glasses down, Li Qiuping winked at Qin Yu. "You and Kerson work in the same department, right? Now that she's manager, when are you getting promoted?" "Ah, you might be disappointed." Qin Yu dropped the bomb. "I quit." "What? You resigned? When did that happen?" Li Qiuping exclaimed. "You always did a good job. Why did you quit?" "It's partly my fault," Lu Kerson said apologetically. "How so?" Even the usually quiet Gui Yafang looked curious. Lu Kerson gave a quick rundown of what happened that morning. "That's awful. That manager deserved to get canned," Li Qiuping fumed. "But I have to say, Qin Yu handled it like a boss. Good for you. One job ends, another begins." "I'll drink to that," Li Qiuping approved and raised her glass to Qin Yu. "I'm grateful too. Here's to you." Finally, all 3 girls toasted him. Qin Yu felt a bit awkward, but he clinked glasses. "It's no big deal. I was resigning anyway. That's why I had the guts." "Oh. So you quit before the incident?" Li Qiuping asked. "I haven't found a new job. I just need a break." He didn't want to get into details. "And what about your girlfriend? Is she okay with your resignation?" Li Qiuping continued to pry. "We broke up." Qin Yu managed a wry smile. Chapter 34 System Tasks. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing them all gossiping, he glanced over and quickly explained, "Look, it's simple. Su Li found some rich dude and dumped me. End of story." "Oh." They all gave him the same knowing look. "Since you broke up with your girlfriend, Qin Yu, and Fang's single, why don't you two just hook up?" Li Qiuping winked at them, chopsticks practically disappearing into her mouth as she smirked mischievously. "You little busybody. If you don't quit meddling, I'm gonna smack you." Gui Yafang snapped, then plopped a bite of food into Li Qiuping's bowl. "Your mouth runs a mile a minute, you need to eat more." Lu Kerson covered her mouth, giggling silently. She'd secretly love to see them get together, but knew Gui Yafang would never go for it. Qin Yu just kept his head down, shoveling food in. He and Gui Yafang had a history. She had that classic round face, and was the tallest of the 3 girls. Qin Yu fell for her hard the first time he saw her and chased after her a few times, but when she realized what he wanted, she didn't say yes or no, just laid out her ideal guy, young, rich, and hot. Those were her must-haves, and since Qin Yu didn't exactly check those boxes, he was out of luck. They could be friends, though. She was brutally honest, but not mean about it, so Qin Yu got his first ever friend zone card. After that, he gave up and never gave Gui Yafang a second thought. He even forgot about it when he started dating Su Li. Li Qiuping and Lu Kerson knew the story and loved to tease him about it. "Hey, Fang, you're doing pretty well selling real estate. You still hiring? Maybe Qin Yu could join your team," Li Qiuping suggested, her eyes twinkling. "Not a bad idea. Real estate sales can be lucrative. Yafang, is your company still looking for people?" I think you mentioned last week that Qin Yu Real Estate has a new building on Beixiang 2nd Road in Jingyun District. They must need salespeople. Lu Kerson was serious. She felt a little guilty about Qin Yu getting canned and wondered if she was partly to blame. She'd be thrilled if he found a better gig. Yafang shook her head, looking apologetic. Sorry, haven't heard anything about real estate sales openings lately. But I can ask around for you. Nah, don't bother. I'm not looking to jump back in just yet. I'll chill for a bit, Qin Yu quickly interjected. Aha. Now I get it. That's why you quit. Li Qiuping put down her chopsticks, fixing Qin Yu with a knowing stare. You're heartbroken about the breakup, so you don't want to work, right? Lu Kerson blinked. It's a tough break, but you gotta look ahead. You'll find someone better. Qin Yu was both annoyed and amused. Stop guessing. Do I look heartbroken? Just eat your food. After that, they went back to chatting and joking, clinking glasses and generally having a good time until 10. After a few too many drinks, Qin Yu stumbled back to his room, crashed on the bed, and was out like a light. He woke up the next day at 10, showered, and then plopped down on the living room sofa, pulling up the system panel. Host, Qin Yu, age, 25. Constitution, 50, normal, mental power, 50, normal, skill, empty. Check-in progress, 1.8 million/30, third level check-in unlocked. Task, empty. Check-in points, 3. Balance, $102 billion. Backpack, X1. System, check-in. Qin Yu couldn't wait and asked the system to check him in. Wonder what I'll get this time. He was nervous and excited. This third-level check-in cost a whopping $80 million, unlike the measly million the earlier ones cost. This time, the reward should be worth the price. Congratulations, host. Check-in successful. You have acquired 35% equity in Jiangyun Hotel. Relevant equity certificates have been placed in your backpack. 35% ownership of Jiangyun Hotel. He was speechless. Qin Yu thought it over, and even though he'd spent a fortune on this check-in, it didn't seem as valuable as that Huajiang Plaza he scored last time. Why couldn't he get the whole hotel? Why just a 35% stake? How much was that even worth? He'd assumed that the more he spent, the greater the value of the reward, but he was wrong. He'd have to upgrade to the 4th level to see a real payoff. This time he miscalculated and regretted blowing so much cash. Still, he was curious about the actual value of that 35% stake in Jiangyun Hotel. He grabbed his phone and searched online, but found nothing about the hotel's valuation. Finally, he tracked down Tang Qin's number and dialed. Mr. Qin, hello, Tang Qin answered respectfully. Tang Qin, I need to ask you something. Do you know how much your hotel is worth? Qin Yu asked, getting right to the point. Why do you ask? Tang Qin sounded puzzled. Just curious, that's all. You know. I'm not entirely sure, but I did overhear something, Tang Qin replied. What's that? A while ago, a colleague mentioned that the hotel's main shareholder wanted to buy out another shareholder's 80% stake for $20 billion. The deal's been in the works, and they're close to finalizing it. So, based on that, the whole hotel would be worth about $80 billion. $80 billion. Qin Yu muttered, dejected. Yes, that's about right. Is there anything else, Mr. Qin? Shall I come pick you up? Thanks for the info, but that's all. I'll let you know when I need a ride. You can get back to work. Okay, contact me anytime you need anything. Tang Qin hung up, still confused. Damn system. Qin Yu cursed under his breath. If Tang Qin was right, his 35% stake was worth less than $40 billion. What a rip-off. He was annoyed and disappointed. Just as he was about to grab some breakfast, the system chimed in again. Ding. New mission. Acquire Jiangyun Hotel. Obtain 80% equity in Jiangyun Hotel. Complete mission perfectly to unlock 4th level check-in. Obtain 50% or more equity in Jiangyun Hotel. Complete mission generally to unlock third-level check-in. System tasks now. Qin Yu remembered that the system had mentioned that besides the daily check-in, there were also rewards for completing tasks. This was the first time he'd gotten a task prompt. If he completed it, he could check in again. This stingy system. All I have to do is complain and it gives me a mission. But it's not bad. If I complete this mission perfectly, I'll get a 4th level sign-in. Qin Yu felt a surge of excitement. Third update today, finishing before 8 p.m. Chapter 35 Plan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It'll cost 1 billion yuan to unlock level 4. It struck Qin Yu as a little too convenient, signing in to receive a 35% stake in the hotel, and then getting a task to acquire Jiangyun Hotel. He decided to table that thought for now. The immediate issue was figuring out how to actually acquire Jiangyun Hotel. He currently owned 30% of the shares, but who owned the rest? Qin Yu was stumped. Where did he even begin to contact the other shareholders and launch this acquisition? Especially after his conversation with Tang Qin, it seemed the majority shareholder was already trying to buy out another shareholder. That complicated things. If that acquisition went through, it would mean one person controlled the whole hotel. And if that happened, he might not even be able to complete the task. This was a headache. He needed to act fast, ideally snatching up another shareholder's 20% before the majority shareholder could. No matter how much it costs. But who to contact? Tang Qin. As just an employee of the hotel, she probably didn't know the shareholders. Just as Qin Yu was feeling lost, his phone rang. Who is it? Qin Yu asked. Hey, Qin, it's Jiang Xian. Am I catching you at a bad time? Oh, Jiang, what's up? So, Mr. Ma wired me the $860 million for the car repairs. Send me your bank info and I'll transfer it over. He's paying up already? Qin Yu was surprised. Haha, of course. Mr. Ma and his crew, they know they messed up. They wouldn't dare not pay up. They were going to have to fork over the money sooner or later, so this way they get some brownie points. You're right. It pays to have a name like yours, Jiang. As he said this, Qin Yu thought of the acquisition and asked, speaking of which, do you happen to know the owners of Jiangyun Hotel? And know them well? Why do you ask, Qin? Just got a thing going. Do you know them or not? Actually, yeah, I have some connections there. One of the shareholders is a buddy of mine. Qin Yu was thrilled. You think you could introduce me? Jiang Xian explained, Jiangyun Hotel has 3 shareholders. The biggest one is Yun Zhihang, the head honcho of the Yun family and chairman of Jiangyun Hotel. His dad started the hotel. After some financing, 30% of the hotel's shares ended up with Longsha Commercial Bank, and another 20% belongs to Chao Jinghua. Qin Yu realized that the equity he received from the system must have come from Longsha Commercial Bank. Hearing Jiang Xian call the other shareholder brother Hua, he asked, so you know Chao Jinghua? Yeah, he's also the leader of the sports car club. We hang out a lot. Now that you bought a sports car, and a top-of-the-line one at that, I'll let him know and get you in the club. He'd be stoked. Right now, can you get in touch with him? Qin Yu didn't care about any clubs, he wanted to get down to business. Sure can. You need something from him? Actually, yeah, it's kind of a big favor. Qin Yu replied with a smile. Name it. No problem at all. Anything for you. Jiang Xian responded without hesitation. After hearing his aunt's words the previous night, he was eager to do favors for Qin Yu. It's simple, I want to buy Jiangyun Hotel. Can you reach out and see if he's willing to sell his shares? What? Are you messing with me, Qin? You want to buy Jiangyun Hotel? Jiang Xian was stunned, thinking he'd misheard. I'm serious. If he's willing to sell his shares, the price is no issue. You're for real? No problem, I can contact him. But do you have that kind of money? To buy the whole Jiangyun Hotel, you'd need at least $80 billion. Jiang Xian was still having a hard time believing it, even though he knew Qin Yu had a supreme black gold card, as the stuff of legend, he had never come to terms with its value. Now that Qin Yu had said he'd spend over $80 billion to buy Jiangyun Hotel, that was an unimaginable fortune. Don't worry about that. Just get in touch with him ASAP. I heard that Yun Zhihang is already talking to Chao Jinghua about buying his shares. No kidding. If Yun Zhihang buys Chao Jinghua's shares, plus the shares he has, it means Jiangyun Hotel is all his. It'd be way harder to buy it from him then. Exactly. That's why this is kind of urgent. How about this, help me get through to him, work on your brother Hua, get a sit-down with him as soon as possible. Whatever happens, keep the 860 million. Consider it payment for your troubles. No way. I can't take your money. I don't need any money for this. It'd hurt our friendship. Jiang Xian declined immediately. I understand where you're coming from, but I'd feel bad. The money's nothing to me, so you might as well take it. After some back and forth, Jiang Xian finally accepted 400 million, with the remainder to be sent after Qin Yu provided his bank details. Jiang Xian rushed to contact Chao Jinghua, and Qin Yu, bored while waiting, went downstairs to grab some breakfast. Not long after, he finally got a call from Jiang Xian. Qin, I got a hold of brother Hua. I told him about your situation. At first, he didn't want to deal with you. Because of his friendship with Yun Zhihang, he'd already verbally agreed to transfer his equity to Yun and was planning to go to Jiangyun Hotel to sign the transfer contract tomorrow. But eventually, I got him to talk, mentioned that you're offering a higher price, and played up my aunt and your Nanqing Club membership, and he reluctantly agreed to meet you. It's set for noon tomorrow, at Jiangyun Hotel. Jiang Xian shifted his tone and continued, however, he was blunt about it. He'll meet you, but we'll sign a contract with Yun right after. I'm doing my best here. Ultimately, it's up to you, whether you can close the deal with him. You did great, setting up the meeting. Qin Yu breathed a sigh of relief. When brother Hua gets to the hotel tomorrow, I'll arrange for you to meet him right away. By the way, you're still staying at the hotel, right? Yeah, I booked a presidential suite for a month. I'll be at the hotel all day tomorrow. Huh, that's how you roll. Not everyone's willing to drop that kind of cash on a presidential suite for a month. After discussing the details for the next day, they hung up. Chapter 36. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Whether or not we snagged the Jiangyun Hotel deal is on hold until tomorrow. Qin Yu decided to shelve that thought for now and started brainstorming how to spend the cash from tomorrow's check-in task. After checking out some seriously run-down rentals, an idea sparked: buying a house. Nah, if I'm buying, it's gotta be a villa. The best one. The thought of villas reminded Qin Yu of a spot. He often went for runs in Beixiang Park in the new city district on his days off. The air was crisp, the scenery was legit, and the location was prime. Right off Beixiang First Road, near the park, was a super high-end villa community. It just opened this year, so there were still plenty of unsold villas. Decision made, he was done hanging around the rental any longer. He headed out still rocking his usual chill-at-home fit, a short-sleeve shirt, shorts, and slides. The weather was scorching, so it wasn't out of the ordinary. He used to throw this on to run to the grocery store, and buying a villa felt pretty much the same as buying groceries. In Qin Yu's mind, dropping tens of millions felt just as stressful as dropping a few bucks used to. Nanyun Villas, one of the top 3 elite villa neighborhoods in Nanjiang City, and the biggest. The folks living there are all big shots in the money game. Regular folks can only admire from afar. Starting price, around $200 a square foot, all single-family homes. The cheapest ones start at 15 million, and the crazy mansions push past 80 million. Located in the Jingyun district's new city area, it has easy access to everything, is right by Beixiang Park, and the scenery is on point. The sales center sits off Beixiang First Road, up on a bit of a hill, separated from the road by stone steps. Qin Yu rolled up on his motorcycle and parked at the bottom of the stairs. As he walked up, 2 security dudes in white uniforms rushed over, smiles plastered On their faces. Qin Yu nodded, thinking, these guys are on it with customer service. He paused, expecting the welcoming ceremony, but the two guards zipped past him, ignoring him completely, and dropped some seriously flattering lines. Hello, Mr. Chen. Welcome, and this lady, right this way. Wait, no welcome for me. Qin Yu was stunned. He glanced back and saw a middle-aged dude in his 40s or 50s with a beard, arm in arm with a young hottie, hopping out of the back of a Maybach S50. He gave a nod to the security guys and headed for the sales center. The two guards trailed behind, grinning ear to ear, walking right past Qin Yu like he was invisible. Damn, I'm getting dissed. Qin Yu felt a little down and trudged towards the sales center. Mr. Chen, welcome, Mr. Chen. At that moment, a whole crew poured out of the sales center lobby, including a greeter and a bunch of real estate agents. A woman dressed like a manager stood front and center. 7 or 8 people rolled out the red carpet for Mr. Chen. Mr. Chen strolled up to the sales manager and finally cracked a smile. Manager Zhu, sorry I'm late. Hi Mr. Chen, so glad to be your agent, and this lady, please, I'll take you to see the properties. Sounds good. As Mr. Chen and manager Zhu headed into the sales center, the 4 employees left outside were practically buzzing, like they just spotted a celebrity. That's the CEO of Huaxing Pharmaceuticals, Mr. Chen Zhihang. I used to only see him on TV or online, now I'm seeing him in the flesh. Huaxing Pharma is a top 10 pharmaceutical company in Longxia, worth hundreds of billions. Word is, Mr. Chen is worth several billion himself. He's loaded, Major League. He's probably buying today. No pressure at all for him to snag a villa. Man, if only I could land a client like that, I'd be set. Who's the woman with him? I heard Mr. Chen's been a widower for years. Could that be the new Mrs. Chen? She's way too young, though. Looks so fresh. Mr. Chen's in his 50s. Shame. A young male employee said regretfully. What do you know? Mr. Chen's a baller. I bet he's got young hotties lining up. Wife, mistress, you name it. Sue, watch it. Don't let Mr. Chen hear you. You don't want to piss him off. You'd be out on your ass. Hey, I'm just saying. They were whispering away, totally ignoring Qin Yu. He didn't pay any mind to the gossip, but he was still annoyed that none of the sales staff was giving him the time of day. Hey, sir, can I help you? Just as Qin Yu stepped into the hall, a tall, chunky employee, pushing 300 pounds, finally noticed him. What do you think I'm doing here? I'm here to buy a house, obviously. Qin Yu replied, a little peeved. You're buying a house. The hefty employee gave him a once-over, like he was a zoo exhibit. I just saw him hop off a motorcycle wearing flip-flops. Don't laugh when he says he's here to buy a villa, someone snickered. Sir, sorry, we only sell super high-end villas here. Each one costs at least 10 million. Are you sure you're in the right place? The chunky woman said again. Why are you even bothering? He looks like he just rolled in from the sticks. A square foot here would take him years to afford. Several people chuckled. So, you guys are just going to look down on me because I'm dressed casual? You think I can't afford a villa? Qin Yu was getting fired up. I'm just wondering, is that how you treat customers around here? Qin Yu was already in a mood, so getting angry just made him louder, he was already regretting it. He should have asked Tang Qin to lend him some designer clothes and a fancy car. If he came in flexing, these dog-eyed sales staff wouldn't be so quick to judge. Sir, sorry about that. How can I help you? It was Zhu Yuan, the sales manager. She'd overheard Qin Yu's complaining while she was showing the property to Chen Zhihang. She quickly pieced together what was happening. She didn't want Qin Yu to bother her guest, so she walked over to smooth things over. She also shot a warning glance at the employees who had been jawing at Qin Yu. Chapter 37, Classmate Luo Aiqi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You're the manager, right? I want to buy a villa, but your people are giving me a hard time. Do you have some kind of policy about who you can sell to? Sir, I am so sorry. We'd love for you to buy here. My staff was out of line, and I apologize on their behalf. Zhu Yuan's apology sounded sincere, though he was pretty steamed at his employees. Even if the customer isn't buying today, you can't treat them like that. You're violating company rules, especially when we have a big spender here. Use your heads. The woman next to Zhihang, who had been studying the real estate model, also turned to see what was happening. She couldn't help but smile at Qin Yu's attire, shorts, a t-shirt, and flip-flops. Looking closer, Qin Yu's face seemed familiar. After a moment, it clicked. He hurried over. Qin Yu. Is that really you? Qin Yu, surprised someone knew his name, found it even stranger that it was coming from the woman next to Mr. Chen. Yeah, I'm Qin Yu. Do I know you? The woman smiled. You don't recognize me? It's been 3 years. I'm Luo Aiqi. Ring a bell? Luo Aiqi. No way. You're Luo Aiqi from college, Qin Yu exclaimed. I remember now. An old classmate, that she was almost unrecognizable from her college days. Light makeup, designer clothes, and jewelry around her neck. The youthful greenness was gone, replaced with a graceful beauty and a hint of luxury. He hadn't looked closely and didn't recognize her. That's right. So you haven't completely forgotten me. Xiao Luo, is this a classmate of yours? Hearing Luo Aiqi knew the man, Zhihang stepped forward to say hello. Mr. Chen, this is Qin Yu, from my college days. Qin Yu, this is Zhihang, the CEO of Huaxing Pharmaceutical. Luo Aiqi introduced them. So your classmate Qin. Pleasure to meet you. Nice to meet you too, Mr. Chen. Qin Yu shook hands with Zhihang. From eavesdropping on the sales staff earlier, he got the vibe between those two. It was a shame, he thought. Luo Aiqi had been one of the prettiest girls in their class, and had guys lining up to date her. Qin Yu had even had a crush on her himself. Now she was possibly marrying some middle-aged dude for money. Didn't seem fair, but then he remembered, if he hadn't been roped into this system, he'd probably be even more intimidated by Luo Aiqi and Zhihang's relationship. That thought helped him relax. Qin Yu, you looking at villas too? Luo Aiqi asked with a smile. Sure, what else would I be doing here? Maybe we'll be neighbors. Qin Yu said jokingly. Huh, classmate Qin has a point. Zhihang piped up, seeming a little too interested in Luo Aiqi's college buddy. Maybe we should all take a look together and see if anything jumps out. Zhihang had been working the business world for years and knew how to size people up. When Qin Yu said he was buying a house, he didn't flinch. That told Zhihang that he either had money to burn or he was an idiot who didn't know anything. Leaning toward the first, he saw Qin Yu as a normal guy looking for a come-up story, which made it very interesting. Alright, let's do it. But make it quick, I'm starving. Qin Yu said. Luo Aiqi laughed. Buying a house isn't like grabbing groceries, Qin Yu. A villa costs millions. You've got to take your time, no rushing. Qin Yu just smiled. Sir, this way, please. Here's a model of the entire villa area. Take a look, and then we can go see the actual sites that interest you. Zhu Yuan gestured, a smile plastered on his face, and led the way. The sales hall was huge, and a massive scale model in the center ate up half the space. Just walking up to it felt impressive. Nanyun Villa covers about 13 acres. There are over 100 houses, including 25 small villas, 70 medium-sized villas, 5 large villas, and 5 manor villas. All single-family homes with plenty of natural light and green space. The south gate here is the main entrance. This is the north gate. And here's the entrance and exit for the underground parking. The main road runs through the middle. There's an artificial lake here, and behind the greenbelt you'll find antique gardens, playgrounds, all that stuff. Zhu Yuan pointed out features on the model with a small spotlight as he described them. After the basics, he started talking about the houses themselves. Of the 100 villas, 60 have already been sold. These marked houses are the 40 that are still available. Only 20 of those are medium-sized or larger. Take a look, pick out a style and location you like, and we'll go see the real thing. Luo Aiqi then asked, do you have any move-in ready villas with a larger area? We have 2 large, fully furnished villas that haven't sold. One is at 3, Fukang 1st Street. Zhu Yuan pointed to villa number 3 with his pointer. This is it. Over 10,000 square feet. A small garden, almost a miniature manor. The other one is at 51, Fukang 3rd Street, right here. It's 4,300 square feet with no garden, just a small courtyard. It's smaller, but the building itself is more impressive. What are the prices on those 2 furnished villas? Luo Aiqi asked the million-dollar question. The manor villa at number 3 is 150 million. Only villas number 1 and number 2 in Nanyang are more expensive. The medium-sized villa at number 51 has a great location and it's beautifully furnished. The price reflects that, 48 million. Hearing those numbers, Luo Aiqi knew a multi-million-dollar villa was out of her reach. Without wasting much time, she chose villa #51, after some back and forth, Luo Aiqi settled on the furnished villa at number 51. She was also considering a raw, unfurnished house of the same size, but she needed to see the sights first. Zhihang went along with everything, letting Luo Aiqi make the decisions. It was pretty clear that Luo Aiqi was the one who would be living there. Qin Yu, which villa do you like? Anything catch your eye? After settling on her own choice, Luo Aiqi took a breather and asked Qin Yu, who was looking at the model off to the side. Mr. Qin, if you're interested in a particular villa, I'd be happy to give you a tour. Zhu Yuan chimed in. No need to trouble yourself. I was listening to your spiel. I'll take that furnished villa. We can check out the real thing later, and if it looks good, I'll buy it. Qin Yu pointed to villa number 3. Mr. Qin, are you sure you want to buy villa number 3? Zhu Yuan thought he was hearing things. Those small villas are only about 2,000 square feet, right? That's right, that one. And yeah, I meant the furnished one. Qin Yu confirmed. Chapter 38 Kong Xiaoyi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. No way, that house costs over $1 million. You got that kind of cash. Luo Aiqi snapped. Is $1 million a big deal? Qin Yu asked. Luo Aiqi was speechless. Duh, $1 million is a big deal. Was he serious? Are you pulling my leg? Luo Aiqi finally said, a bit dumbfounded. Zhihang was even more confused about Qin Yu. Maybe I've got him wrong. Is this kid just clueless, or is he here to stir things up? Mr. Qin is interested in that house, so I'll have a salesperson show it to him. I'll take Miss Luo and Mr. Chen to look at another property first. Even though Qin Yu wanted to buy a mansion worth over $1 million, Zhu Yuan didn't seem thrilled. Just matter of fact, Qin Yu nodded. No problem, just get someone to show me around. Lu Haiyan, you can take Mr. Qin to have a look, Zhu Yuan told a female employee who was watching with a smirk. Manager Zhu, I. The employee looked embarrassed, clearly unwilling. Qin Yu sized her up. Wasn't this the one who was making fun of the taller, heavier employee? Manager Zhu, I don't want her. Can you get someone else? All right. Zhu Yuan looked around at the other agents, but they all avoided his gaze. He was stuck. We aren't stupid. One employee thought, glaring at Qin Yu. We can see he's just putting on a show for his classmates, playing games. Nobody wants that kind of thankless job. Star. Folks, and madam, hello, can I offer you some tea? A slender, young girl who looked about 18 with shoulder-length short hair approached with 3 cups of tea. Qin Yu was thirsty, so he took a cup and gulped it down. Sir, would you like another cup? The girl asked when she saw how quickly he drank it. No thanks. Qin Yu looked at the girl, thinking she seemed nice enough, and asked, are you a real estate agent here, too? Yes, hello. My name is Xiaoyi, and I work in the sales department. The girl nodded shyly. Qin Yu gave a rare smile, pointed to Xiaoyi, and said to Zhu Yuan, she'll do. Have her show me the place. Okay, Xiaoyi, you can accompany this gentleman to see the house, Zhu Yuan said, relieved. Me? Xiaoyi pointed at herself, looking surprised and wide-eyed. You don't want to? Qin Yu frowned. No, Xiaoyi quickly said, sir, I'd be happy to, but I've never taken customers to see a house before. I'm afraid I won't do a good job and give you a bad experience. Oh, I see. Qin Yu smiled. It's okay, just grab the key and show me around. You don't have to explain anything, I'll just take a look. Okay, thank you for your understanding. Xiaoyi smiled back. Qin Yu seemed to feel a certain fondness for this shy girl, especially when she said she had never shown a house before. It touched him. Manager Zhu, if I buy that villa, the commission goes to this employee. She's the reason I'm even considering buying it. That's right. The way everyone was treating him, he was already getting annoyed, and pretty much decided he wasn't buying anything there. This wasn't the only villa community around. He'd heard there was a new development nearby, with both condos and single-family homes for sale. No problem. If Mr. Qin buys villa number 3, the commission is Xiaoyi's, Zhu Yuan said without hesitation. Xiaoyi looked even more flattered, especially when she heard it was the number 3 mansion villa she was taking him to see. There were only 5 mansions in the entire Nanyan villa community, all costing millions, and this number 3 villa was one of them. It was like a gift from the heavens. A major client falling into her lap. If the villa actually sold, what would her commission be? For someone who only made a small salary each month, this was a huge opportunity. These days, villas didn't sell every day, but when one did sell, the commission was good. It wasn't like when they first opened, when there were lots of buyers, but the commissions were barely anything, less than 1%. It was clear this guy was serious about buying, and this amazing opportunity had landed on her. A virtual nobody. She glanced at the other agents sitting there, looking at her with envy. They didn't get it, whatever. Xiaoyi quickly grabbed the electronic key card for villa number 3, walked over, and said, sir, I'll take you to see villa number 3 right now. Great. Seeing that Zhihang and his classmate had already gone out with manager Zhu, Qin Yu was eager to get out of the sales office. The sales office was technically part of Nanyan Villa, but it was still a ways to the villa at number 3 Fukang 1st Street, and they walked the whole way. Mr. Qin, villa number 3 is a mansion, and the price is over $1 million. You really want to buy it? Xiaoyi asked with an innocent smile. She'd asked Qin Yu his name in the sales office. She thought he seemed easygoing, not stuck up at all. Since they had a ways to go, she figured she'd say something. Your name is Xiaoyi, right? If there's nothing wrong with the house, I'll buy it. Qin Yu replied as they walked, glancing at the young woman and teasing, what, you don't believe me? Or don't you think I can afford it? No, I believe you, Mr. Qin, Xiaoyi quickly said, even though I haven't taken a client to see a house before, I know I haven't sold one yet. But I believe Mr. Qin wouldn't lie to me. I just can't believe it, not that I don't believe Mr. Qin, but that I don't believe I'm this lucky today. I might sell a villa worth millions. Qin Yu smiled knowingly. Don't worry. Even if I don't like that house, there will always be others. Whatever I buy, I'll make sure you're the agent. Thank you, Mr. Qin. Xiaoyi said gratefully. You haven't sold a house before, so your monthly salary can't be high, Qin Yu asked. That's right. Basically, everyone here's just trying to get by. And it's not just me, a lot of people in the sales department are in the same boat. Things took off at the end of last year, so many customers came to look and buy houses, and the number of employees more than doubled compared to now. Once the initial rush was over, people had bought everything they could afford, and those who couldn't afford it weren't buying. And I couldn't catch a single customer during that busy period, let alone now. Chapter 39. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Did those employees quit, or were they just transferred to new buildings in other zones? Qin Yu asked, curious. Xiaoyi explained, the ones who actually sold a building. They all took their big commissions and left. Some of the ones who never made a sale left too. Mostly, the ones who stayed weren't just thinking about the benefits package. They were hoping for a lucky break, a customer with deep pockets. After all, the commission now is double what it was when we first opened. So you're sticking around, hoping to get lucky, Qin Yu said, chuckling. It'd be amazing to luck out, but even if I don't, the base salary of 4,000 is okay. Finding another job isn't exactly easy, Xiaoyi admitted. That's fair, but that salary is still pretty low for around here. What kind of degree do you have? Qin Yu asked. I just graduated high school. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, so I don't mind a lower salary. Qin Yu nodded silently. As they talked, they reached the entrance of Villa number 3. A high-tech electronic lock was mounted on the wall. Besides the key card, you can program your fingerprint to unlock it, Xiaoyi pointed out. Then she swiped the card and the gate opened. Inside, they walked through a garden with rock features, flowing water, and little pavilions, until they reached the 4-story mansion. The first floor was dominated by an oversized living room with 2 guest bedrooms. The decorations were super luxurious. Huge, 15-foot high, 30-foot long windows lined both sides, and a beautiful chandelier hung above. The master bedroom was on the 2nd floor. The 3rd floor held the media room and fitness center. The 4th floor only covered half the area, housing an indoor swimming pool. Qin Yu remembered that Huayuan also had an outdoor pool. Talk about extravagant. But he was into it. After checking out the 4 floors, they headed down to the basement. It was well lit and ventilated, with several large rooms suitable for storage or whatever else. The remaining space was a huge garage, big enough for dozens of cars. Honestly, with Qin Yu's background, he couldn't find anything wrong with the place. He grew up in the sticks. Even after living in the city for so long, he'd never seen a house this beautiful. Qin Yu had already made up his mind. Let's go. I've seen enough, he said. Okay, but don't you want to look around some more? Xiaoyi sounded disappointed. Nah, I'm good. I'm in a hurry, and it's almost lunchtime. I'm starving, Qin Yu said, checking the time as they walked out. Okay, Xiaoyi said, hurrying to keep up. Mr. Qin, there are other villas too. Want to check them out? Xiaoyi asked, panting slightly as she closed the gate, hope in her voice. Qin Yu stopped, looking puzzled. No need. That villa was great. I don't want to waste time looking at others. You should head back and get the contract ready. Wait, what? Mr. Qin, you're not unhappy with the villa. You've decided to buy it? Xiaoyi asked, stunned. That's right. What are you waiting for? Qin Yu grinned. Mr. Qin, thank you. Xiaoyi snapped out of it, practically jumping for joy. She was smiling so hard it felt like she might cry. Seeing her tears, Qin Yu was startled. Hey, why are you crying? Don't do that. Someone will think I'm giving you a hard time. Xiaoyi wiped her eyes, embarrassed. I'm sorry, Mr. Qin. I'm just so excited, I couldn't help it. Qin Yu said helplessly, let's go. Okay. Back at the sales office, Xiaoyi skipped making tea this time. Instead, she made Qin Yu a cup of coffee and then rushed off to prepare the contract. She couldn't find manager Zhu, so she called the real estate company's accountant and asked them to come over. Qin Yu sat in the waiting area, sipping his coffee, and called Tang Qin, telling her to come directly to the Nanyan Villa sales office. With a company car on call, there was no need to wait outside like he had to earlier. He waited ages, and then had to grab a ride on the back of a motorcycle. At the front desk, several employees sat on stools, bored. Seeing Xiaoyi bring a client back so quickly, They exchanged glances. They looked at Qin Yu with a mix of disdain and amusement. Lu Haiyan, a tall and overweight employee, said snidely, "Look at this guy, pretending to be a big shot, coming to buy a house. Doesn't have the money. Is he here to entertain us? I could be using my time to do anything else instead of talking to him." "You got it," an older employee, nearly 40 but still trying to look glamorous, nodded. "I saw how determined he looked before they left. I was secretly worried that he actually was going to buy a villa. I was afraid he might be some low-key rich kid, making Kong Xiaoyi lucky. Guess I was worried for nothing. Life is full of surprises. Sisterly, let's be real. Villa number 3 costs 40 or 50 million. A normal person couldn't earn that in a lifetime. Even Mr. Chen didn't buy it. And he is dressed so plainly. No way he can afford it." "True." The group burst out laughing. Qin Yu finished his coffee and noticed that Kong Xiaoyi still hadn't prepared the contract. He glanced at the time, frustrated. It was already past noon. As he was thinking about whether to rush her, Luo Aiqi and the others returned to the sales office. Luo Aiqi held Chen Zhihang's hand, beaming. Zhu Ai, following behind, had a strained smile. "Deal's done." Seeing Luo Aiqi's expression, Qin Yu guessed she was happy with the villa. "It's all set. 45 million. Just waiting for the paperwork and payment," Luo Aiqi replied, a hint of pride in her voice. 45 million. Qin Yu was confused. "I thought the villa you were looking at was 48 million. Was it a different house, after all?" "It was that fully decorated villa. Listed for 48 million. Had to haggle a little." "Got it," Qin Yu said, understanding. "Mrs. Chen is a tough negotiator. She slashed my commission. If it wasn't for Mr. Chen's reputation, I wouldn't have been able to get the price that low," Zhu Ai said, forcing a smile. As they talked, Kong Xiaoyi rushed over, sweaty and holding a contract. "Mr. Qin, I'm so sorry. I forgot to ask, are you paying cash, or financing?" "Cash." "Okay, the contract will be ready soon." "No problem, no rush." Even though he was impatient, Qin Yu couldn't help but smile at her flustered state. Chapter 40 Chen Zhihang #039, S shock. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Full price for a house. "Qin Yu, you bought a villa?" Luo Aiqi asked, snapping out of her shock. "Mr. Qin, which house are you interested in?" Zhu Yuan also asked, surprised. Qin Yu gave Zhu Yuan a strange look. "Villa number 3, of course. Kong Xiaoyi just showed it to me." "Villa 3, The room went silent. Everyone stared at Qin Yu, their eyes filled with shock, regret, heartache, and envy. Those who had looked down on Qin Yu were especially uncomfortable, like they'd swallowed a fly. A new female employee came in. Noticing the strange atmosphere, she asked what was going on. She, too, was stunned when she looked at Qin Yu. She was the real estate company's financial manager, and she'd rushed over after Kong Xiaoyi called. She knew a customer was buying, but she hadn't expected it to be the number 3 manor villa. And the client who bought it was not only ordinary looking, but so young. "You bought the number 3 manor villa, and you paid full price." Luo Aiqi couldn't figure out her former classmate. She remembered Qin Yu's family as being average, from the countryside. He'd had a work-study job in school, and he often worked part-time to make ends meet, and now, just 3 years after graduation, he could afford a villa worth millions. Luo Aiqi had also worked hard since graduation, knowing how tough it was for a migrant worker with no connections to get ahead and make real money. Just then, Kong Xiaoyi brought out several purchase contracts, handed them to Qin Yu, and waited for him to fill in his information before signing. Then he could pay, get an invoice, and have the financial officer stamp it to complete the process. Zhu Yuan glanced at the contract and noticed something. "The purchase price is 122 million. She asked. Luo Aiqi immediately understood. "Qin Yu, did you really pay 122 million for that house?" she asked urgently. Qin Yu nodded, confused. "Yeah, isn't that the price?" You didn't bargain. Do you need to bargain when you buy a house? Luo Aiqi was speechless. Of course you do, especially now. These houses aren't selling as easily. The grand opening rush is over, so there's more room to negotiate. You're paying so much for villa number 3. Even if you didn't want a big discount, you should have at least knocked some off the price. Oh, I see, Qin Yu said, surprised. Mr. Qin, I'm so sorry. I forgot about the price. How about I redo the contract and adjust the price? Xiaoyi said, embarrassed. She'd been too excited and hadn't thought about it. Oh. How much can you lower it? Qin Yu asked. Xiaoyi did some mental math. I could probably take off 3 million. That's the biggest discount I can give, she said, sounding a little hesitant. Normally, the sales staff gave customers a small discount. The biggest discount for a 122 million villa was less than 2 million. But her commission was 1%. By offering 3 million, Xiaoyi was essentially cutting her commission in half. Mr. Qin, how about this? I'll personally kick in another million off the price. Would that be better? Zhu Yuan was worried that Qin Yu would back out because of the price. Even though the commission went to Xiaoyi, her overall performance would improve. Besides, she was trying to make amends with Qin Yu. She'd underestimated him earlier, and this was a good way to fix it. So, the house could be discounted by 4 million, Qin Yu said. He thought for a moment and asked Xiaoyi, if you give me these discounts, will your commission be reduced? Xiaoyi nodded honestly. Then don't bother changing the contract. Just leave it at the original price. It's only 4 million, not worth wasting time over such a small amount of money, Qin Yu said casually. In that moment, everyone saw him as a true rich guy who treated money like dirt. Zhu Yuan couldn't help but be jealous of Xiaoyi's luck. She remembered how much she'd had to sweet-talk Zhihang to buy his place, how many times they'd haggled over the price. In the end, her commission of 20,000 was decent, but it couldn't compare to Xiaoyi's. If she hadn't doubted Qin Yu when he said he wanted to buy villa number 3, she would have taken him under her wing. In that case, the 2 or 3 million bump in commission would definitely be hers. But you can't have everything. Ah. A female employee was so shocked that she fainted. It wasn't Qin Yu's money that got to her, but Xiaoyi's potential commission. Everyone looked over. The employee who had passed out was Lu Haiyan. She couldn't accept it. If Qin Yu bought the manor villa without a discount, how much commission would Xiaoyi get? She did the math, over 2.1 million. If manager Zhu had asked her to show this man the villa and she'd said yes, wouldn't that 2 million have been hers? The luck she'd been dreaming of had been snatched away from her just like that. She was so angry and filled with regret that she passed out. Someone pinched her, and she slowly came to. Meanwhile, Qin Yu had already filled out his information on the contract. He signed and prepared to pay. The payment wasn't just 122 million. There was also a deed tax of $1,142,400 to be paid by the real estate company for him, for a total of 123,142,400. He chose to pay by card. When Qin Yu pulled out the black card, Zhihang, who had been silent all this time, finally perked up. His eyes locked on the black card in Qin Yu's hand, and he walked towards Qin Yu, trembling slightly. He said very politely, Mr. Qin, could I take a look at that black card? Oh, this one? Sure, take a look. Qin Yu felt a little uncomfortable with Zhihang's sudden change in attitude. Okay, thank you, Mr. Qin. Zhihang took the black card with both hands and examined it carefully. Seeing the prominent 5-element mark, his suspicions grew. Mr. Chen, is there something special about this card? Luo Aiqi saw Qin Yu take out the black card and Zhihang's attitude suddenly change. She couldn't help but ask, was she seeing things? Many others were also curious. Zhihang was the general manager of Huaxing Pharmaceutical and a major shareholder. He was a prominent figure in Nanjing City, often appearing on TV at business events. Why was he treating this ordinary young man with such respect? Who was this young man? No wonder he could buy $1 million mansion without blinking an eye. At the same time, many people felt even more uncomfortable. They'd hoped that Qin Yu wouldn't be able to afford the property and that pulling out the card was just for show. Now, it seemed that they had been wrong. Mr. Qin, I've finished looking at the card, thank you. May I ask, is this black card the supreme black gold card of the 5 elements?